are we gonna be covering the sub-brands and national projects that we have inside ISEC in India, which is a very important topic for us as IGV of ISEC in India, as it is extremely important to understand what is our brand and how this brand came into place, and what kind of role does it play in our overall operations as a whole. So again, I will try to make it very simple, and I will try to give you all the information needed for you to actually run operations smoothly and in the best way possible on the local level. And by the end of the webinar, again, if you have any questions, I'm gonna take all your questions and I'm gonna answer them. So yeah, a few of your questions yesterday were about this, and I told you guys that tomorrow I'm gonna be answering all those questions. So hopefully today I'm gonna clear all the doubts that you have. So for the people who were there at both GNC and RYLC, this is something that we presented there, which is India is a feeling, the feeling that makes you smile. So India is a feeling is our national brand as ISEC in India, and it is the brand under which all our operations fall. So what we try to do as IGV and ISEC in India is that we try to come up with sub-brands that actually align with this major brand. So understanding India is a feeling, understanding how India is a feeling is being conveyed to our customers, and understanding what kind of emotions and feelings and behaviors and perceptions we want our EPs and our clients to have about us according to this brand, and following this brand, we came up with a few sub-brands to actually make sure that we are aligned as IGV and ISEC in India with our national brand, and that we are taking full advantage of the brand. One, to align our IRs with us, and two, to get as many results as possible from the brand itself. So the next thing that we're gonna be covering is this. So you might have seen this picture a lot. Is it still cracking now, or can you hear me well? Okay, so you might have seen this picture a lot. It is all over the place on isec.org. Any single opportunity that is being opened every day has this cover picture on Expa. And there is one thing that I want you to pay attention to in this picture itself, which is true life-changing experiences. So all in all, this is the one feeling that we want to convey to our EPs. This is the one thing that we are actually promising our EPs. We are promising that we're gonna give them true life-changing experiences. And that is the brand that we are trying to convey as IGV and ISEC in India. That is our whole branding as IGV and ISEC in India, is the fact that all the experiences that we are delivering to our customers, all the projects that we are raising and opening on Expa, and we are bringing EPs from all over the world to actually work on those projects, this is our end goal. Our end goal is to create these life-changing experiences for the EPs themselves. So when it comes to this brand, how does it actually translate on the local level and on ground? It's through this, our sub-brands. So what we mean by a sub-brand is, can you guys hear me properly now? Yeah, I think the two people who cannot hear me probably check your internet. So what we mean by a sub-brand is, so we have a major brand that is general and that is not vague, but it involves a lot of things. So what we try to do is we try to break it down into smaller things, depending on what kind of operations and what kind of activities we are actually running on the ground, and what kind of activities we are doing as IGV and ISEC in India. And those are our sub-brands. So the sub-brands that we have inside ISEC in India right now are 1, field education; 2, field equality; 3, field healthcare; 4, field environment; 5, tech volunteer; and 6, explore. I'm gonna be going through all of them, through every single one of these sub-brands, to make sure that one, you understand what each and every single sub-brand is about, understand why we came up with these sub-brands, and you understand what is the relevance of having this specific sub-brand in ISEC in India specifically. Okay, can you guys hear me well now, or is it still cracking? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, cool. How can you say no when I ask, can you hear me now? If you're answering the questions, that means You are hearing me. All right. So the first sub brand that we're gonna go over is Feel Healthcare. So Feel Healthcare, how we came up with it? It's basically because India as a country is suffering from a lot of health issues. A lot of communities are suffering from a lot of diseases, and more than that, a lot of people are not aware about a lot of things concerning their health and concerning a lot of illnesses and diseases that are actually present in the country itself. So Feel Healthcare as a whole is about raising awareness about those health issues and about the prevention methods that we can actually use in India to actually prevent those health issues. The second sub brand is Field Education, and Field Education is very simple. As a global volunteer, if you work on field education, you are actually contributing to achieving quality education, and the projects under this sub brand are like very diverse because the audiences are very different. So the EPs can actually be working with kids, they can be working with adults, they can be teaching languages, they can be teaching dance, they can be teaching arts. So it is very diverse in terms of what kind of experiences we are actually delivering to those EPs. Can you guys hear me now clearly, or is it still a problem? All right. So the third sub brand that we're gonna cover is field equality, and field equality, like opposite to what some people might believe, it is not only about gender equality. Gender equality is only a part of it. It covers actually two SDGs. So it covers gender equality and it covers reducing inequalities. So field equality can actually be about sex bias disparities, which is gender equality, and it can also be about social disparities. It can be about ethnic disparities. So it can cover a lot of topics that are actually about equality in India as a country. So it can be about working with disabled kids. It can be about working with women. It can be about working with kids that have autism, for example. So it is actually about working with all these kinds of people and working with all these layers of the society to make sure that one they have some basic skills and basic languages that can actually help them be productive in a way in the society, and that can make we can make sure through that they have the relevant skills for them to actually advance and progress in their lives. And the fourth sub brand that we're gonna cover is Tech Volunteer, which is one of the newest sub brands that we came up with in ISEC in India. I am using headphones. Thank you for the notice. So Tech Volunteer is about all the technical projects inside ISEC in India. So what I mean by technical projects is it can be about engineering, it can be about marketing, it can be about sales, and probably you have seen this kind of opportunities on the local level itself, in which you have like very technical projects that require very specific profiles and very specific people to come and work for that. So this is more about helping economic growth in NGOs and organizations that we are partnering up with to make sure that they have the relevant skills for them to actually advance in their operations. The next sub brand that we're going to be covering is field environment. And again, this covers a lot of SDGs. So we talked about SDGs yesterday. And if you went and researched a bit, you would find out that a lot of SDGs are actually about the environment itself. So we have, for example, life on land, we have life below water, we have climate action. So we have different SDGs that are about environment itself. And we are trying to cover all those SDGs in field environments. So field environment is basically about those specific SDGs, and any project that falls under this brand is about improving the environmental scene of India as a country. And the last sub brand that we have is Explore, which I'm sure all of you guys know. So Explore is at the same time a sub brand and a national project that we are running. So Explore is about promoting tourism, but it is not about just promoting tourism randomly like that, but it needs to have a specific SDG that it's contributing to. whether it be quality education, for example, in which the exchange participants can be going from one city to another, for example, and teach kids in those different cities. It's going to be about gender equality, in which the volunteers go again from city to city and they provide workshops for women. Like, it can be about different SDGs, but it needs to be contribution to a single SDG, even if it's an explore project, because we cannot just be promoting tourism randomly without actually trying to make certain impacts in those cities that we are running explore in. So right now we're going to move to the national projects, and for you to understand what is the difference between national projects and sub-brands, one, sub-brands can, so national projects fall under the sub-brands. So for example, let's say we have Good Morning India as a national project, which is an education project. It falls under field education, but field education can have a lot of different projects under it, which can be national projects and can also be local projects that you have inside your local communities as unique projects. So the first national project that we have, before actually moving to the national projects, let me just explain to you why these specific national projects and why these specific sub-brands. So it is very important for us to understand where our approvals come from. So if you notice the data that I'm presenting right now, you're going to notice that the SDG that is contributing to the most to our approvals is SDG number 4, which means that most of the clients or most of the EPs that we are attracting to our country are EPs that are interested in SDG number 4, which means that, again, we need to be raising massively for SDG number 4 for us to actually meet the demand that we have from the exchange participants. So as you can notice, SDG number 4 is actually 38% of our total exchanges. Second contribution SDG is SDG number 8, which is decent work and economic growth. And again, technical projects fall under this SDG specifically, and it is contributing to our exchanges by 18%. And right now in ISEC in India, those are the most two contributing SDGs that we have in terms of projects open. So we have almost 4,000 positions open for winter. 3,000 of those, 2,500 of those are just education, which means that we are actually aligning ourselves to what the EPs want. We are actually aligning ourselves to what the demand of our partners in terms of IR is, which is a good thing for us right now as ISEC in India. So this graph explains very briefly what are the SDGs that are contributing the most to our exchanges, and through which we can understand how we can actually start strategizing and understanding what opens we need to be raising on system right now and what projects we need to be focusing on right now. So when it comes to our national projects, the first two actually are both under field education. The first one is Good Morning India, which you might have heard of. So Good Morning India is about teaching as a whole. So again, like I explained, Good Morning India can be about teaching English, it can be about teaching Spanish, it can be about teaching arts, it can be about teaching kids or adults. So the audiences vary from one opportunity to another, but even the subject that we are teaching are very different from one opportunity to another. So Good Morning India as a whole is actually about teaching in general. The second education project that we have is SDG Caravan, and for the people who have been here last semester also, you might have heard of a project called Worldview. So SDG Caravan is basically Worldview. We just changed the name and a few parts when it comes to the description of the project itself. So SDG Caravan is about raising awareness about sustainable development goals in NGOs, in centers, in schools. So making sure that people in India are actually aware about what the SDGs are, what their contribution to the SDGs are, what kind of actions they can start taking to make sure that they are contributing to the SDGs, which is a very important thing because we need to make sure that people have the knowledge and have the awareness for them to actually start contributing to things and goals as big as this. The third national project that we have is actually Wonder Women. So Wonder Women is basically about gender equality, and it is about teaching girls and women basic languages and skills that are useful to them in their day-to-day life. So the goal here is to actually make sure that we are giving those people very useful and very relevant skills for them to make their life easier. It is not about educating them. It is not about making sure that they start earning loads, like a lot of money or something like that. It is about making sure that they have the right skills and the relevant skills for them to have an easier life and a smoother life, and not to have a lot of the problems that they are actually facing right now. The fourth national project that we are running is Operation PO. So Operation PO falls under field environment, and this is basically about animal care. So for this project specifically, the exchange participants will be working with animals in animal centers and shelters. They will be working on rescuing those animals, making sure that they are being fed, that they are being taken care of. But more than that, it is also about raising awareness about the fact, like among the youth, raising awareness about the fact that it is important for us to actually start taking care of those animals, and it is important for us to like stop a lot of the practices that are now like in the whole world, like animal abuse and stuff like that. So this project is very important in two aspects. One, it is very practical in the sense where the EPs can actually work practically speaking with the animals and rescuing them and all of that. But it is also about raising awareness in youth, because again, youth are the future, and they are the ones who are going to bring the change. So it is very important for us to raise awareness about topics like this for them specifically. The fifth national project that we have is Heal India, and this falls under field healthcare. So Heal India specifically used to be called Genesis. The only difference between Heal India and Genesis, which you might have heard of, is the fact that Genesis only covered non-communicable diseases. But Heal India as a project, it is about any health issue that you can think of that India as a country is facing. And it is about raising awareness about those health issues. But more than that, Heal India can also be practical in the sense where the EPs can actually be going to clinics and hospitals and working side by side with the people working there, by talking to the patients, for example, making sure that they have someone to talk to, they have someone that can listen to them, making sure that they witness like beforehand what is going on in those hospitals, what is going on in those clinics, and bring in their perspective as a global volunteer. And the last project that we have, which you know for sure, is Explore India. So again, it is about promoting tourism, but just not just about that. So it needs to contribute to a specific SDG. It needs to contribute to a certain SDG, and we can ensure that by the fact that it can contribute, for example, to quality education, to gender equality, to SDGs like this. Why? Because one year the EPs will be discovering India, discovering different aspects of the culture, of the country, of the geography that we have. But they need to also be creating some kind of impact in all those places that they're going to be visiting. So again, I want to correct the misconception that Explore India is only about visiting places and visiting monuments and going around in cities and all of that, but it needs to serve a purpose. It needs to create an impact in the communities that we are serving and the society that we are serving. Again, I'm gonna just go through this very briefly. So again, we are aiming, and our whole objective is to actually create true life-changing experiences. And the way we can do that is by focusing on those national sub-brands and focusing on those national projects to make sure that we are creating the right impact that India as a country needs. And you might have seen it also through the graph that I presented. We need to make sure that we are also meeting the demand from our exchange participants. So if our EPs are actually attracted a lot to our SDG number 4 projects, we need to make sure that we are creating those kind of projects that meet the needs of our EPs. But at the same time, we need to keep in mind that what are the things that India as a country needs? What are the things that India as a country is facing? And we need to be creating projects according to that, because by the end of it, GV is not like GT or GE. We are not providing professional experiences to people. We are not providing jobs to people. We're actually providing them a platform and a chance for them to actually make an impact. And the best way for them to actually make that impact is if we create the adequate opportunities both for the country and for the exchange participants. So yeah, I will now be taking questions. Again, sorry guys for the inconvenience at the beginning of the call. I know you guys have been waiting a lot. Thank you for that. So I'll be taking your questions now. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. I will make sure to answer all of them. Any questions? Or any parts that wasn't clear for you? If you don't have questions, you can also type no in the chat, so that I know that you're actually listening to what I'm saying. Cool. Yes, this session was all about the projects that we are running inside ISEC in India right now. All right, guys. So make sure that you go again to the National Education Cycle website. Make sure that you go through the output, that you go through the quiz. A lot of people have been taking the quiz yesterday, so that's a good thing. I'm gonna be counting myself the averages for every single entity to see which entity has the brightest mind. So make sure you go through the output and quiz and take the quiz also. Okay, we have a question. In every project should have some impact on the following SDGs. Not necessarily every project that you run. Most of the projects that you run anyway will fall under one of these sub-brands, because these are the sub-brands that we are running the most in ISEC in India. So the sub-brands didn't just come randomly. We didn't just create them randomly, but we ran an actual analysis of what kind of SDGs we are running as projects for the past 2 years, and then we created sub-brands according to that. But that doesn't mean that those are the only SDGs that your projects can actually be contributing to. If we wanted to open projects in other SDGs, could we? Yes, you definitely can. There's no question about that. As long as the project is solid and everything is sorted. If some LC member wants to join some specific projects, is this possible? That is probably a question you should be asking your VP. But you will probably have the chance to actually contribute to those projects in the delivery of the project itself, which in some way is joining the project. But you can probably take up that question with your vice presidents, because they can be able to run you like to explain this better than me, because it's different from one LC to another. All right, guys. Thank you so much for attending. Make sure to go to the NEC website, ISEC in India Hub, and go through the output. Take the quiz. Let's see which LC has the brightest mind. Let's see which LC is gonna get the highest score. I'm also, for the team leaders, I'm gonna be sharing the scores that I got from the quiz yesterday. But I would love to get more answers also for the quiz of yesterday. And for the team leaders, again, if you haven't registered for the winter challenge yet, go and do that right now. The deadline is in a few days, and you don't want to miss that. So go and register right now. And again, if you have any questions, you can just ask your team leader or ask your VP. I have groups with both of them, and they can probably just convey the questions to me, and I can answer them, and they can convey the answer to you. Okay, so you go for the quiz. You go to the National Education Cycle website. Someone just sent the link. I'm gonna pin it on top. So you go to that website. You go to the functional spaces, IGV, and then you look for the project. You look for the topic that we just presented today, which is national branding. You're gonna find the output. Then you're gonna find the quiz. You couldn't hear. Okay. So you go to the website, ISECindiahub.com. That is not the right website. Yeah. Thank you. So I pinned the message. You go to that website. You go to functionals, IGV, and then you look for the topic that we just presented, which is national branding. You're gonna find an output, and there you're gonna find a quiz. You click on the quiz. You can take a quiz. It is in a Google form. You can just answer the questions there, and then submit your answers. Then we're gonna, by the end of it, we're gonna see which LC has the highest score. Is it clear? Okay, so I'm just gonna write it instead. Okay, guys, thank you so much for attending. I think the call is done. So if you don't have any questions, we can just leave. So thank you so much for attending, guys. I hope this was helpful and useful to you. And again, if you have any questions, please convey them to your VPs and TLs, and they can just convey the same to me, and I will answer them. No, there is no code for this call. It was only for last call, for yesterday's call. There are no extra points for this call. Sorry. So thank you, guys. Goodbye. Have a good night. Bye.